Hello everybody, welcome back to Rover project. Right, the new track control arms, track rod ends have just arrived today, so I'm starting on fitting them now, getting it done. Unfortunately I don't have a dust cover, so like I said, I've got a spare one, so I've had to shove one on there. So I'm just about to put it all back together, and hopefully they secure it and won't have no more knocking or any more clattering noise whilst I'm driving it. So hopefully this will be all sorted and it'll do a job. Right, so I'm going to finish it off now, get it all put back together, and I'll come back to you in a short while. Okay everybody, right, well it's all put back together, the new joint is on there. So I'm just about to just put the wheel back on, leaving the wing off for a minute, just taking it around the block and see if the clunking stopped. I can't hear anything now. I mean, usually when you turn the steering, you hear terrible noises, but there's still a few noises there, but when you turn the steering fast, it's not going clunk anymore. So it seems to be stopped, but when you turn it slow, you get the odd noise. But I don't know if that's just usual standard noises you hear. I can't remember now. But the only thing I can do is just drive around the block and try it and see what happens. And I'll come back to you in a short while and tell you the bad news or the good news. Hello everybody. Right, well the noise is still there, so I don't know. I'm getting fed up with it now. So the only thing I can put it down to is the front shocks, the ball joints. The ball joints at the bottom I've got, the top ones I need to get. So the only thing I can do is I'll have to try and invest in a set of top ball joints now, I suppose. And a set of shock absorbers. So I don't know what else to do. The noise, the other noise is gone. It's just it's hard to say what the noise is really. It's quite horrible when you're driving it. It sounds like everything's loose on the front and it's falling apart, but everything is tight. It's as if you've got wheel nuts loose on the wheel. And I've checked the wheel bearing. I've tightened that up and checked all that. It's hard to say what it is. It's like it's a weird, horrible noise, and I can't understand it. So I don't know. I'm stuck for words at the moment. I'm stuck on everything at the moment. It's just one of those days today where you were hoping it would be done, you hoping it would cure it, and it's cured one thing, but it's still got the other. So whether or not it was all this one side does need completely stripping. I mean, I've done this one now, I've done that one up there, so that one's done, that one's done. So maybe if I do the top ball joint, bottom ball joint, you might stop all this stupid noise. It's hard to say what this noise is. It's like if you got the an old Escort or an old Capri with the front struts with the springs and all that in there, and the top mount is seized up on the bearings, and when you turn the steering you hear the spring going crunk, 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 and it's sort of like that. But it's hard to say what the noise is. But I've driven it around the block and it's still doing it. But like I said, one noise is gone, but the other noise is still there, and it's getting on my nerves now. I mean, I've checked basically everything I can check. I mean, unless I take, because like the discs are brand new, the calipers are brand new, so I would presume when they done the wheel bearing, they put new wheel bearings in it. So the only thing I can do is go back through the records. But I mean, and let's face it, these calipers and discs were done at a local garage. Not by me, not by the previous owner I bought it off of, but the previous owner again. He bought the car, featured it in the magazine, in the Rover Club magazine, and put a nice article, lovely article, what he said about it and everything. And the reason why he bought the car, because of his dad had one and stuff like that. It was, you know, a nice story. And he didn't live very far away from me neither. He's about 10 miles away from where I live, really, from one part of the town to the other. So it's not very far away from where he lives. I mean, I could try and contact him on Facebook and ask him about the car, what he actually done. But I mean, he went to the garage and had those brakes done. But when I bought the car, like I said, the brakes were crap. They didn't even work properly. And the previous owner I bought the car off of said, oh, I've bled the brakes, I've done this, I've done that. Yeah, well, obviously you forgot to bleed this one then, because this was the side where it had all the air in it. All the other calipers were fine, it's just this one had loads of air in it, it all came out like snot. And now the car stops like it should stop. So it took me to do the brakes, because when I drove the car home you had to pump the brakes umpteen times, as well as trying to keep your foot on the accelerator as well. So I had to do left-footed braking, so I got to pump the brake with my left foot to get the bloody thing to stop, and keep my foot on the accelerator when I brought it home, because it wouldn't tick over, because it was running like a bag of nails. So it's just one thing after another at the moment. I'm getting a bit tediously fed up with it now. Sorry, you're looking at a wheel. Tediously fed up with this now, and I'm scratching my head over it, and I don't know what to do. I'm debating, should I keep going or should I not bother and just sell the bloody car or what, and let somebody else sort the problem out, and they probably would understand what the problem is. I'm just getting to the stage where I haven't got the time for it much now. I'm trying to crack on and get things done the best I can, and as well as the other two cars I got to finish off as well. I got this one, it needs doing, and I needed it done really by next year. But now I'm starting to debate, should I bother? Should I just count my losses, put it back up for sale, and let somebody else finish it off? I don't know. I really don't know. My mind's two ways at the moment. I'm just getting really to the stage where I'm getting fed up with everything at the moment. I mean, there is two accounts. There's a Patreon account and there's also a Fund Me account as well, so if anybody's interested. But, you know, I don't know what to do. I mean, I want to keep the car, because like I said before, I mean, the car, it reminds me of the old one I had years ago. And the one I had years ago, I did buy it off my mum, and I only paid, I think it was £200 for it, off my mum. Years ago, exactly the same colour as this one. And she bought it, and she only had it, I don't know, a few months. It was just a runaround car at the time she bought. And I bought it off of her to use, and it was a lovely car, and I enjoyed driving it. Then the exhaust snapped in the middle, and I took it to a local garage, and they just slid a piece on there for me, because the brackets were actually broken, snapped all the way around, so you couldn't get the bolts in there to do it up. So they just cut the flanges off and stuck a piece of tube on it. A nice job they did, because it worked for ages. And then the MOT was due up on it, and at that time I didn't have the money at that time to put into that car to finish it off the restoration, because it needed restoration even back then, because I had a couple of panels, no rust, just dents. And the previous owner had it before, my mum, he caught it a couple of times on the wings and put a few dents in it and stuff like that. But I panel beat them out the best I could, but they needed skimming, and the car needed a respray. But anyway, in the end I ended up taking it back to my mum and asking her, can I part exchange it in for the Saab she had, because she had a Saab. And at that time all my mates were taking the mickey out of the Rover, because it was an old car, and they all had Fords, they all had Capris, Cortinas and Escorts, and there's me with this old 1970 something or other Rover. And they all took the mickey out of me, so I thought, well, I'll get a Saab, because the Saab was newer. So I ended up buying the Saab off my mum, because I ended up getting a new job, because the job I was earning from wasn't earning me enough money. So I ended up finding a better job with better pay, so I ended up part exchanging the Rover back in for the Saab. Had the Saab for, I don't know, it must have been about 2 months. Nah, probably wasn't even that. I ended up blowing the engine up on it, so my mother wasn't very happy about that. So we ended up putting the car into a garage, and I had a big bill at the end of the day with a new engine rebuild. So I ended up just saying to my mum, don't worry about it, just sell the Saab on. I didn't want it in the end. I lost interest in it because it was stuck in the garage for so long, but having the engine rebuilt, I went out and bought myself another car. Another worst piece of crap I could have bought. Fiat 127, what a little rubbish. So I ended up doing that, and the Saab ended up getting sold, and so did the Rover. But in that time I regretted every moment of getting rid of that Rover, because no sooner did I got rid of that Rover, I ended up getting the money together, like I said, to part exchange for the Saab, because my mum allowed me the £200 back on the Rover. But I wish now I'd kept that Rover and not listened to all my mates taking the mickey out of me. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of two minds what to do. I mean, I don't know what the bloody noise is. I really can't figure out what this noise is on this car. I'm puzzled on what the noise is. I am absolutely fed up with it at the moment. I don't know. Maybe I'll just get a set of top ball joints. I've got the bottom ball joints, I might as well use them. Maybe I'll just strip it and just fit the ball joints and get it out of the way and done. It's just getting those top ball joints. They're not cheap. I mean, I suppose I could just do the one side for a minute, couldn't I? And just see or not if that cures it. And if that cures it, then I know that's what it was, and then I can crack on and probably do all the other side then. Because I mean, like, the shell of the car is excellent. Body panels are a bit on the rough side, but it's only body panels, everything bolts on, so it's easy to do. But I mean, the actual skeleton of the car is solid as rock. I mean, I could do with plenty of spares here. I mean, I'm still worried about that engine as well, because like I said, that guy who I bought it off, said he put new shell bearings in it, and that's a worry as well. I mean, I've had to redo everything he's done, like the oil leaks and whatnot. I mean, he didn't even put a new sill on the front of the pulley, so I mean, that just fell off. So I mean, it was oil spurting out everywhere. So I mean, what other stuff have he farted around with, and you know, and couldn't bother to tighten it up properly and stuff like that, and just left it and thought, well, I'll come back to it another day. And then days go by and then you forget what you've done, and the next thing you know, you're driving along in a car which is a death trap with loads of nuts and bolts undone. Because that's what it was. I mean, like I said, when I got home, there were so many nuts and bolts still undone. I mean, even the sump pan was still loose. I mean, even the bolts weren't even done up properly on that. Because I thought, well, if I push that seal back in and tighten up the bolts, maybe that'd stop oil leaking, but it didn't. It just carried on leaking. So a couple of days later, I mean, it was a restoration show, so I went straight down and got the bits I needed, you know, for doing the sump and everything. But and I had to ask on Facebook and everything if it does come with a gasket, because like, I bought 2 sets and not one of them had a sump gasket, and somebody said they don't come with a gasket, you've got to use a sealant, which I bought, done. It's no oil leaks, it's all cure rod and that, so that's all alright. The crank seal's all done. Yeah, so that's all done. But it's still a bit of a worry about that engine though, because like I said, I don't know how much attempts he's took it apart or not. I tried to do a rebuild or not, I don't know. But I mean, there was an engine on eBay I was tempted to try and see if I could get, but the trouble is it was too far away and I had no way of getting it home. So I don't know what to do. And I've paid the earth for this car, that's the trouble. I paid far too much for this car. I rushed into it a little bit really. It was just that the fact is it was exactly the same colour as the one I used to have. Exactly the same dash and everything, and I did rush into it a little bit and paid well over the odds. Well, put it this way, for what I paid for it, I could have got a minter, like all been resprayed and everything like that, but would it have been hidden sins under the paintwork? Would it have been full of filler, or would it have been, after a couple of months, would all the filler just bubbled up on the doors and wings and whatnot? So I mean, because anybody can throw a spray job over a car and make it look tidy. I mean, God, I mean, I used to have my own garage. I mean, many people have come down and said, oh, I got a couple of rust holes, don't worry about welding them, just fill them full of fiberglass and filler. And And they say to them, don't bother, you just waste your time. After a couple of months it'll all be bubbled back up. Don't worry about it, I would have sold the car by then. So I just done what they told me to do. So I done the works, resprayed the car, they paid me, and then a couple of months later you see the car going along the road, or parked up in Tesco's car park, and you think, that's one I sprayed, and then you look at it and all the fillers bubbled up on it and coming out of doors. So you've got to be careful out there what you buy. It's only the fact is I knew this one needed panels, but I knew the skeleton was good on it. But as like I said, I'm a bit worried about that bits and pieces. I mean, that's done my head in with that suspension still, but I still can't figure out what it is. So I mean, any comments from any of you chaps out there, or ladies, anybody like that, you might have some idea of what is wrong with this bloody thing. Please let me know, because I don't get much in the way of comments. I mean, I don't mind answering the comments back if you comment. I mean, somebody might have come up with the right idea and say, yeah, that's what it is, and sort it out. I mean, I know these things move on this bar. I mean, could the bushes be shot away in there? It might need replacing. I mean, that one don't look brilliant, but could it be this not turning properly when it pivots up and down? Because I mean, this is what takes all the spring in it. So I mean, at the end of the day, this has got to pivot up and down. This actually got to turn. So I mean, could it be that, or could it be the ball joints? I mean, it's just hard to say, and I mean, I can't really film the noise as I'm driving it neither, because like, you probably might not pick it up on the camera. I mean, I can definitely bloody hear it when I'm driving it, and it sounds horrible. So I mean, if I can hear it without a wing on and driving along, and I can hear it, so pretty obvious anybody else can hear it. But it does sound like the wheel nuts are like undone, the wheel was banging away, but it's not. It's hard to say. I mean, before, I mean, we couldn't even, you only had to touch anything on the front of this car. I mean, like the real bad clunking noise is gone, so it was that trap rod end. But it's just this horrible leather noise, which I'm trying to figure out what it is. And like I said, maybe it is this, or maybe it's the ball joint. I mean, I've tried to stick lever bars in and tried to push down to see or not if there's any play in the ball joints, but I mean, it's not easy to do, is it? So I don't know, it's hard to say. Like I said, if any of you lot can comment or come out with anything, please let me know. I mean, you're the guys and whatnot, and ladies out there who've had loads of Rovers and P6s and may know what this problem is. Because I mean, I'm scratching my head now what the noise it is. I mean, if it had been a Ford, I would have known what it is. I mean, I'm not really up on these Rover P6s. Like I said, I've had Rover P6s in the past, but I've never had to really work on them. I mean, the two I had years ago, well, three I had years ago, one ended up, like I said, sold back to my mum, and then she sold it on, so I don't know what happened to it. The other one I had afterwards was a Rover Series 1 TC, and I bought it to restore it, to go into restoring it. Well, when I bought it, it didn't run properly, and because it got the battery at the front, when we bought the car, the battery was flat, it wouldn't charge up, so we ended up towing it. And my mate didn't do up the battery clamp because he took the battery off thinking it'd charge up, but it was naffed, and didn't do the battery clamp up. So when we did tow it and get the car started, the battery clamp moved, fell down on the fan and smashed through the radiator. So then I had to buy a new radiator. Well, when I say a new radiator, I had the old one reconditioned, because I couldn't get one down the scrapyard because it had that built-in oil cooler, and that's what my main concern was, finding a way of getting that oil cooler. And I went in all the scrapyards years ago, and that's back in the old days when you had scrapyards everywhere, and nobody had one. They had just the normal Rover P6 ones, so nobody had any. So that was upsetting. So as I got into the car, I'd paid about, I think it was about nearly £200 I had this radiator rebuilt back then, and that was back in the 80s. and fully rebuilt. I put it all back on the car, and then I couldn't stop the oil leak from the oil cooler. So then I've lost interest. I've got fed up with the car. It's done my head in. It's just sick and deaf of looking at it now. So another one came up in the paper, a Series 2, and that was a 2-litre TC, but it needed bodywork. So I ended up buying that one, and that was a lovely car, absolutely lovely car. I never had no problems with him. So all the panels which were on the Series 1, I stuck on the Series 2. I had to drill the holes to put the chrome trim on and stuff like that. So there was two, I think it was both front wings I had to put on, and one rear wing, because the other rear wing on the red one was no good. And I done other bits and pieces as well, like bits of wood trim inside the car was broken, so I replaced and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, I had a lovely one, Mexico brown, like a whitish leather in there. Actually, it was really nice. No rips in the leather at all. It's absolutely stunning inside, and I really did love that car. And I drove him around for must have been about 6 months. Drove him around, and then the exhaust came off again. I don't have much luck with the exhaust pipes on Rover P6s, and the back box fell off. It just literally snapped and fell off on the back. So I didn't worry about it. I took it off, the remainder of it off, and just drove it as it was. I thought I'll get round to taking the other bit off with nuts and bolts and weld it back up, and then I'll stick it back on the car. Well, time went by and I never got round to it. By then another car came up, and I got talked into buying it, so I bought it. It's the worst thing I'd done, really, because it was a good car, but don't get me wrong, but it was a Ford, and I used to really like Fords because all my mates had Fords, and I bought an old Cortina, and my Rover then ended up being just stuck on the drive, not being used. So I must have been stuck on the drive for quite a few years, but then the bodywork never rusted away, and none of the floor rusted away neither, and it was stuck out in all winds and weathers. I still started it up regularly and moved it backwards and forwards, but I sold it to a mate of mine, and he said he sold it to somebody because he was living down in Devon, and he sold it on to somebody down in Devon apparently, and I have got the registration for it, but from what I can gather from his ex-wife, he stuck it on a banger track. So that's probably where it went, on a banger track, which would be a great shame because it was an absolute stunning car. Because I resprayed all the panels as well, and the car looked absolutely stunning. And no sooner did I resprayed it though, well, I had a jealous neighbour, which was very jealous because I was only, I think I was about 19 years of age, having this Rover TC. And he was an old boy, and he was very jealous because he only had an Ilman Avenger. And he walked down the street late at night and poured a paint stripper all over the bonnet of the car. So yeah, it didn't go down well, did it? So I seen him do it as I was coming out the front door. And I thought it was just water he threw over, so I didn't think nothing of it. It wasn't until he got down till he got down the bottom of the road to his house, and I realised that the bonnet was like making all this funny noise, and all the paint was coming off. So I haven't had much luck really with neighbours and all sorts like that. I mean, I'm a car fanatic. I'm a petrol head. I mean, what can I say? I mean, cars and motorbikes. I mean, that's the only thing I like doing. Like I said, I'm not a mechanic. I'm just a self-taught mechanic. More my line's bodywork and welding. So I'm not, a fully qualified mechanic. But I'll have a damn good fucking go at it, and crack in and see what I can do. Yeah, so I don't know what happened to that Mexico brown one, but I do know what happened to the Series 1 2-litre TC. Like I said, I took the panels off and I just broke it all up for parts because and when I was breaking them up, I realised he needed too much welding. The actual inner and outer seals were rotted away, floor pans were gone, so he was all rotten. But like I said, to look at, the bodywork wise, was spot on. And that's why I said it. Anybody can put a coat of paint over a car and make it look nice, but is that skeleton shell any good? But I know this one is. So the only thing I can do is, I suppose all I can do is crack on, order some more parts in, wait a few more days and see what happens. But yeah, like I said, I've got a Patreon account and a GoFundMe if you're interested. I would like to try and keep this car going and try and get it on the road, try and save it, because I don't really want to give up on it at the moment and sell it on and lose all the money I've put into it and all the time I put into it. Because like I said before, I'm not a well person, so anything like this really was a bit, you know, when these type of days is alright, but when it's a wet, miserable day, I can't do nothing. So, and then so many days, I can only do so many days, and I've got to recuperate, I've got to completely rest. And I don't mean just lie on the bed with your pyjamas on, I mean I got to have proper treatment and proper rest. But yeah, it's not good, put it that way. Anyway, I expect you're all fed up listening to me rabbiting on, because all I've done is rabbit, and I haven't really showed you anything really about this car, have I? I haven't really showed you any of the parts what have all been replaced or anything like that. I mean, as you can see, the interior is tidy as can be in there. There's no tears on any of that interior. It's absolutely stunning. The roof is all excellent. I mean, with a good polish, the roof would come up really nice. I mean, so would the bonnet if it didn't have all those marks and scratches, and the same with the boot lid. But like I said, if I could sort this problem out with the front, then maybe then I can get on and drive it for the summer, take it to a couple of restoration shows, which are local, as it is, because it's not going through a full major restoration. It's just going what they call a rolling restoration. So I mean, you're using it and restoring it at the same time. I mean, I don't really want to go back to a Ford. I mean, it was always Fords I restored and always Fords I'd done, like Cortinas and Capris, and Mark I Granadas. But, and a few American cars I had back in the day. But, do I really want to give up on this? Because I certainly really don't. But I wish I could suss out that noise and see what it is and what is making that noise. It's got to be something stupid. It's like I said, is it this top ball joint? It could be all dried out inside, because this car has been stood for a long time. So whether or not this side has been stuck in dampness, could it be this? Because this is meant to turn. It's meant to pivot up and down. So whether or not, like I said, maybe the bushes inside there are worn out, no good. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's the bottom ball joint. What else could it be? I mean, I've gone through a few symptoms there. Let's see if we'll get any comments back. Sensible ones, please. Not people telling me, oh, scrap the car and stuff like that, because I'm not interested in that. If I was going to scrap the car, I'd rather break it up and sell it on for parts. Which would be a shame, because the shell on this car is absolutely excellent. I mean, all the floor pans, the inner and outer seals are good. So, I don't know. But like I said, let's see if we get any comments back. I mean, I'd be pleased if any of you lot would come up with some ideas what it could be. I mean, unless it is the wheel bearing inside, and they haven't sat it properly, you know, seated it down properly. So I mean, if there are new discs, I mean, you put the shells in, don't you, with the bearings. So whether or not they haven't tapped it in level enough, and the bearing's not sitting level, and crushing the bearing. Because when I had the car up in the air with the jack and rocking it then, rocking the steering and everything, I haven't got that knocking noise anymore, but I've still got like a rubbing noise. I just presumed it's just the way it is, but when you drive around a block it goes from a rubbing noise to actually something. I don't know what it is, it's just hard to say. It's like the wheel nuts are flipping loose on the wheel. Like I said, one of the noises is gone, and that was that trap rod end, so that trap rod end was shot. So, I mean, at the moment, all I seem to be doing is collecting parts. And left the hubcaps off for the moment. I mean, this is the old arm which came off the other one of these, which I fitted on. So this has been changed. That track rod end I took off because that was the old one. Like I said, I put a lever bar underneath, and he was moving up and down. And I've tried it now with a lever bar. No, and these solids are rotten now with that new one on there. I mean, like I said, I do have a set of shock absorbers that came with the car, but they're right down, they're right compressed right down. You won't go down any further, and you match them up to the car and they're too long. So could it be a shock absorber? Could it be? It's hard to say, isn't it? But I mean, you hear the noise more when you're driving it. You don't hear it now when you jack it up, you just hear it when you're driving. I don't know what happened there, the camera shut off for a minute. I must have touched a button. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up now, because I've been rabbiting on so much, and this is part 17, and all you've heard is me rabbiting on and telling you about my other Rover. So, like I said, there's a couple of funds, if you're interested in helping. It'd be nice if somebody would comment and whatnot, and give me some idea of what this bloody noise could be. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, and all the subscribers at the moment which have signed up. It's all, I'm all pleased to how many I got at the moment. I mean, I think we're up to 50 at the moment subscribers, and that's good going really for the amount of time I've been doing. So thank you very much to all the subscribers out there, and a big thank you to the company which got the track rod ends out as quickly as possible for me, because Friday I bought them and they posted them out Friday, and I've got them today and it's Monday. So a big thank you to them. I will comment down below who the company is, because it's not just Rover stuff they do. I think they do a lot of classic car parts for other cars. So I'll give they gave me their phone number, so I think it's their phone number. They gave me a card anyway, and I think it's a phone number on there. So I'll put it down below with the name and the company and all that, in case anybody else out there wants to look online or phone them up and see what parts they got. And they're reasonable as well. I mean, I had to scan through to find these track rod ends through eBay, and I thought what I paid for them, I think was £15 for 2 brand new track rod ends. £15, and I think that was with free postage as well. I don't think I paid the postage, I think it was free. I can't remember now without looking on my account. So I thought £15, up to other people what was asking like 30 quid for them and stuff like that, and 40 quid and £90 and £100 for track rod ends. So a big thank you to them anyway. So I can't really say anything else really. So all I know is I'm happy with everything at the moment, how the car is going, but I just want to sort this bloody noise out, get that noise sorted, and then I can crack on and move on to the other bits and pieces, like the exhaust and the tyres. Anyway, thank you very much for putting up with my rabbiting, and I'll get back to you, I don't know, whenever really. So ta-ta for now. Hello everybody, I know I said I finished, but I'm back again because I got the missus to rock the steering, and maybe now you might hear the sound. Right, rock the steering, right? Go on, it's not even going to do it now, is it? There it goes. Again. Back the other way. See, while she's doing this, my missus rocking the steering, I can feel something in this ball joint. It doesn't feel right. And it makes you wonder if that noise is catching on her and then vibrating down this shaft. Because it doesn't feel right when she rocks that steering, and there's something on that top ball joint it just does not feel comfortable with. Just doesn't feel right. I mean, if you look, you can see the ball moving in the joint like it should do. So whether or not the ball is worn out and it's got rust on it from where it's been stood, it's hard to say, but it just doesn't feel right. Rock it a bit more, right? See if we can get it to make that noise more. Now we've gone to something different now. There it is. That's it. That's the noise. Keep doing it. And whatever it is, it's vibrating all the way up through the spring. So it makes me wonder if it's this bloody top ball joint. It's hard to say, isn't it? But that's the noise I'm hearing, that's the noise I'm getting when I'm driving it. That's the noise. And it vibrates all the way up through this spring. All the way up through the spring it vibrates. You feel it all the way in this shaft. But you can feel it vibrate all the way up. So that's what makes you wonder if it's this top ball joint is shot. The noise is there where it's catching, it's vibrating all the way up through. So I've tried all sorts of things. I tried lever bars. Do it again, I'd. And I tried putting it in the springs to see if it stops. So it makes me wonder if it's this top ball joint. Because these are new, those ones, but the top ball joints are still the original ones, but that's the noise I'm hearing. And the idler has been changed. So it can't be too naft idler, surely. But that's the noise I'm hearing. Straighten her up, I'd. This way. Bit more. Alright, whoa, gone too far now. Go by the badge on the front. I do. Yeah, so that's the noise. So if anybody out there knows what it is, please let me know. Maybe we can suss it out then. I mean, I'm sprayed WD around that joint. All around the shark. I'm not being stingy with it, just spray it all on there and see or not if anything shuts up. Maybe it's dry, I don't know, because this car has been stood for a long time. Like I said, maybe I might get in touch with, not the owner I bought it off of, but the other previous owner, and ask him what work he had done and the reasons why he got rid of the car. I already know how much he sold the car for, which was, well, I'll put it this way. I certainly paid over the odds for this car, put it that way. Like I said, I could have bought a nice shiny one for what I paid for it on the road with probably an MOT. Anyway, that will be it now. So I think I'll call it a day, and I don't know, I'll wait and see what you lot, if you comment or anything on it at all, and I'll come back a later date, maybe with some new parts, and probably change that top ball joint. Ta-ta for now.